we really get into this video, we need to get one thing out of the way. The definition of political is of relating to or concerning with politics. So what is politics? Well, it can literally be any opinion. So with that out of the way, all books are political. So all books are political because multiple things. One, every book has opinions in it, and since basically all opinions are politics, all books are political. And furthermore, all writers have opinions. Political opinions, including political opinions deemed by the norm as controversial, and which can apparently range anywhere from including a same-sex couple in your story to, literally endorsing military dictatorship, and everywhere in between and beyond. In fact, whatever you personally think is political or what is politics, actually probably says a lot about your own political beliefs. Now, you might be thinking, hold on, I've heard authors literally come out and say, hey, my works, they're not political. There are no political messages in it. And I'm sure they believe that. And I'm sure they didn't intend for there to be any political messages. Too bad there were, because there always is. In fact, usually when that question gets asked, it's usually referring to because the author accidentally put some certain messages in there that, again, were deemed controversial by the norm. Basically all tropes or storytelling adequacies or certain characters, or again, just identities of characters, can be considered political. So they all have certain political connotations, and what you choose to insert and what to leave out and how you portray certain tropes can give a certain political message in your book. Now, especially, authors who, or writers who, don't exactly think about it or think about, a message or whatever they're trying to say, and are just kind of, using tropes and creating a story that they think are good, that could lead to, a book with mixed political messages, but they still have political messages in them. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I know, like, things like realistic fiction and historical fiction, like, it's really hard to avoid politics, and, those are political. But things like science fiction and fantasy, they don't really count because they exist in different worlds or in different times. So, obviously, they're not political, right? Oh, how these people are wrong. Science fiction and fantasy are arguably the most political genres to ever exist. The only difference is they have more creative ways of including political messaging or inserting certain forms and certain opinions and themes in a more creative and interesting way. That's why, personally, science fiction and fantasy are some of my favorite genres to both read and write, because they just do politics better, I guess. You're like, nah, I don't believe you. That's not true. Okay, well, let's take, Lord of the Rings, aka basically the father of all modern fantasy. Almost a lot of modern fantasy is roughly based around a lot of the tropes and world building that Tolkien created in Lord of the Rings, okay? So let's take Lord of the Rings. Well, you see, in Lord of the Rings, there are a lot of different fantasy creatures and everything, but also humans or human-like creatures. Now, in the book, there are the good humans and the bad humans. Now, the good humans are, for the most part, from the northwestern-ish area and are heavily coded as European, specifically Western European. But, you know, the bad humans are coded not Western European, and they're considered the people from the South and the East.
Who are they?
Wicked men, servants of Sauron. They are called Mordor. The Dark One is gathering all armies to him. It won't be long now. He will soon be ready.
Late as usual!
I wonder what Tolkien is trying to say with that. Well, whatever your excuse or reason behind it will tell me a lot more about your worldview than your political affiliation. Let's just leave it at that. Still don't believe me? Well, let's take not even a book. Let's take Star Wars. I mean, it has a lot of books. The Star Wars universe. Did you know that Nazi soldiers were called stormtroopers? Including, you know, stormtroopers, which is exactly what the soldiers of the Empire are called. Makes you think twice about buying stormtrooper merch. Or maybe it doesn't. Who knows? So, alright, if every book is political, or really not just every book, basically every story is political in some way or form, then are you allowed to like something that doesn't fit your personal politics? Yes, of course. All books might be political, but they're not just political. At least, no good book is. There are a lot of, you can like a book or a movie based on, you know, because of its characters or setting or prose, if it's, you know, written, visuals, if it's a movie, etc. I guess what I'm saying is, if you really want to avoid politics in your writing, the best way to do that is don't write anything at all. You really can't avoid politics, and because you can't avoid politics, you're not going to avoid people calling you out for possible, you know, political messaging in your stories. So write what you like, criticize where you like, make statements where you like, but you can't ignore politics. So why not embrace it? This doesn't mean that you have to address hot button issues. I mean, especially if you don't care about those hot button issues, because it will come across in your writing, and people do care about those things, so you probably don't want to do that. But, you know, but also, if you don't address certain hot button issues in your writing, that could also be a political act of itself, especially in certain genres. So, yeah, you can't win. So, honestly, just write what you want to express, and express your beliefs no matter how fringe or how normal or they might be. Just know that whatever you do, you will be judged by everyone, including your future self. But hey, I mean, don't let that stop you. If you love writing, your setting, your characters, your story, your world, it doesn't matter. But, you know, that's just my political opinion. I feel like I was going somewhere with this. Oh, yeah, that's right. Black Lives Matter and defund the police. Okay, bye! Hey everyone, I'm back for like a few brief seconds. I know that like my personal opinions don't really matter in this situation, or in this world right now, and that's fine. They really don't have to. But anyways, I was just, you know, thinking, hey, you know, this has been one hell of a summer, right? You know, a lot of shit has happened. And it actually got me thinking about a book that I want to recommend to all of you. And, you know, maybe I might do this where I just recommend books at the end of the video like this. But yeah, so I want to briefly recommend One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. I'm terrible with names. But this is a really great book, I think, to read not only now, but like whenever. I read this first when I was a kid. I got this as a child. And I read it and I really enjoyed it then. And I still think it's really good. I think it's, right now, particularly in our politics, very important. It takes place in 1968, which was considered the most tumultuous time in human history. Again, I might make actually like an entire video about this in 1968 actually, because it's pretty freaking interesting. But I think it's a really great book to read. It is a children's book, but if you're older, don't let that stop you. It's still a really good read. There's some pretty obviously political messaging because you watch the video, so you know all books are political. But not only that, there's a lot of other themes in here about, you know, family, besides, you know, literal race politics, but about family and community in general. And it's just like a really great book. It's actually a really great book for children too, to either read to your children or for if you are a child to read yourself. It's a pretty easy read. I read this when I was, I think, in 5th or 6th grade. So it's a really good book. I would really suggest checking it out. You can probably find it anywhere. It's a pretty freaking famous book. It won like multiple awards, as you can see on the cover of this book. And again, it's just a really great book for anyone to read. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want more, because I don't post videos very regularly. I'm sorry. But you could also follow us on Instagram and Tumblr, and we also have a website with a blog. There's actually a blog post basically